Let's say you had a bunch of people and you wanted to sort them by birth year descending and then by surname ascending. Let's just say the idioms I found weren't particularly readable to me, but at least they work. But I set out to write a more readable version that looks like this. And today we're going to write this magic by function. So we can simply write sort by birth year descending, surname ascending. Okay, but let's start with the basics. How does sorting in Clojure work in general? So if we want to sort our people by a single key, we can simply write sort by surname people. That works beautifully. Here you can see B, C, F, G, H, H, L, N, T, W. So that seems to work. Okay, here's by another key, the birth year, 1815, 1815, 1903, 1903, 1906, 1906, and so on. And note that people within the same birth year, 1906 for example, they have no particular order. They simply remain in the same relative order because sort by guarantees that the sort is stable, meaning equal elements will not be reordered. So in our case, this means Loveless and Boole were in the same order before. Here you can see it, Loveless and Boole. Church and Neumann were in the same order, Church and Neumann, and so on. Okay, now if we wanted to sort by birth year and people within the same age group by surname, we can use a cute little trick that looks like this. So now we have within 1815 we have B and L, within 1903 we have C and N, within 1906 we have G and H, and so on. Okay, and how does this work? This works with the juxt function, and in case you're not familiar with the juxt function, here I have a specific example. Let's look at that. So the juxt function gives us a function that given one person will get the birthday of the person and the surname of the person and simply put those two things into a vector. Okay? And then we can order by those vectors because persistent vector is comparable. So that would work, right? So two vectors with 1815 will look at the last name, and where the age is already different, then the last name isn't even considered. Right, so that works, but it's not quite efficient because all these vectors have to be created over and over and over again. In typical sorting algorithms, log n times for every person. So this is quite a lot of overhead at runtime. Okay, how do we descending order in general? That the standard idiom looks like this. You simply pass another parameter here. So usually if we don't pass that parameter, then sort by will just use the compare function, which is basically Java's compare to on the comparators, except for nil safety and some other details. And if we want to reverse the order, then we simply flip the arguments around. Okay, so this definitely works. So we can see the youngest people first, and then it goes down to older and older and older people. Okay, but it's not really that readable, I think. I think it would be better to make a named function called descending, which takes its arguments and flips them and then gives them onto compare. So this is basically the implementation of compare, as you can see it here, just with flipped arguments. The rest is exactly the same. Okay, and then we can write descending instead of compare number 2, number 1. And then I didn't compile this, descending, and then it looks like this. Okay, so 1943 down to 1815. Great. Okay, and now we can even combine the juxt and the descending. That would look like this. So we want to sort by birth year and surname descending. So again, youngest people first, oldest people last, and within the same age group, the surname is also descending. So TF goes down, WH goes down, HG goes down, and so on. And what we can't do so far in a readable fashion is saying sorting by birth year descending and then surname ascending. That was the initial problem. Here is the funny code again. So that works by simply negating the birth year. that flips the order around. But of course, that only works for numbers. You couldn't, for example, negate strings or other arbitrary types. And also, I think the readability suffers quite a lot. So I don't really think I want to read this in real world code. Maybe I'm not accustomed to it yet. Okay, and here's the proposed solution again. So we have to write this function that takes basically pairs of keys and orderings, and then chains these orderings in a meaningful fashion. Okay, so for this ascending, we could also simply pass the compare function, but I think birthday descending surname compare is also not very readable. So let's write another wrapper that simply calls compare. Again, this is now exactly the same implementation, just giving it a slightly better name. Okay, and now comes our magic by function from here. What does it take for parameters? It takes an arbitrary number of keys and orderings. So this would be first key and ordering. This would be second key and ordering. And it returns a comparator for 2 elements. And then we enter a loop where from all the key orderings, these here, we extract the first key, that would be birth year, and the first ordering, that would be descending. And then keys orderings would be all the rest, which could be more, of course. Okay, and then we actually compare. So what is the birth year of a particular person and the birth year of another person? Then we compare that, and the result of that comparison, if that result is 0, that would mean they were born in the same year. And if there are still keys orderings left, in our case here, that would be still these 2 parameters, then we enter the loop again with the remaining keys ordering. So key would then be surname, and ordering would then be ascending. Okay, and otherwise we can simply return the order. So that would happen if the order isn't 0, so if they were born in different years or later, if they have different surnames, we would only return 0 from our comparator if everything is exactly the same, which doesn't happen in our example data. Okay, let's not forget to compile some stuff, and then let's try that out. And that seems to work. So the birth year is descending to lower numbers, and the surname is ascending within the same age groups F and T, H and W, G and H, and so on. Okay, and I think at least I'm quite happy with this. I think this is readable even by people who don't know any Clojure. The only thing that I want to explore, maybe in a later video, how feasible is it to transform the by function into a macro, because presumably you always want the same fixed ordering at a particular call site, so we don't have to have the full dynamicity of functions over macros. Maybe I'll leave this as a homework to you.